Daf Yomi, Tractate Bava Batra, page 151. A. Top of the page. With the words Kosvin Shtar Lemocher V'af al Pi She'en Lokeach Imo. A scribe may write a deed of sale for the seller of property at the seller's request. V'af al Pi She'en Lokeach Imo V'kevan Shechzik Ze B'karka Nik Nishtar Kol Makom Shehu V'zo He sheshanina nechasim she'en lahem achrayus niknin im hanechasim sheyesh lahem achrayus b'chesef b'shtar u'b'chazaka. Okay. Scribe may write a deed of sale for the seller of property at the seller's request, even if the buyer is not with him when he presents his request, as the deed obligates only the seller, in this case. Once the buyer has taken possession of the land, the deed is acquired, wherever it is. And this is, as it is stated in the Mishnah that we learned in Kedushin 26a, property that does not serve as a guarantee can be acquired together with the property that serves as a guarantee by means of money, by means of a deed, or by taking possession of it. One can learn from this that a deed is included in the term property that does not serve as a guarantee. Behema ekri nechsi ditnan hamagdish nechosov. V'hois behen behema roya legabem zbeach zechor moelos nekevois yimachlos zivchei shlamim. Oifes ekri nechsi ditnan hamagdish nechosov v'hayu behen divarim haruyin legabem zbeach yenois shmanim v'oifois. An animal is called property, as we learned in the Mishnah, Shkalim 12a, in a case of one who consecrated his property, and on the property there were animals fit to be sacrificed upon the altar. Male animals are sacrificed as burnt offerings, and female animals are sold for the purpose of being sacrificed as peace offerings. Birds are called property, as we learned in the Mishnah, Shkalim 12a. In a case of one who consecrated his property, and on the property there were items that were fit to be sacrificed upon the altar, for example, wines, oils, and birds, Rabbi Eliezer says they are sold for the needs of that kind of item. In other words, to individuals who will use them as such. Tefillin, ikri nechsi, that's not a makdish nechasim, malaloi tefillin. Ivoilahu, sifif toiramai, kevin eloi mizavdun. De osul nizadboni. Lav nechsihu, oidilma, kevin mizavdun lemoi toiram. Velisa yisho, nechsihu teiku. Very nice. Now I'm back on track on the teikus. If you've been following along, if you've even made it this far today, up to this point, I was following along the idea of this other book that was written that documented all the teikus in Shas. And last teiku was 179, and this is the 180th teiku in Shas, according to the Sofer called Teiku by Rabbi Aharon Yehoshua Pessin of Ramat Beit Shemesh. And this will be the 180th Teiku in Shas. Tefillin are called property, as we learned in the Mishnah Arachin 23b. With regard to one who consecrates his property, the value of his phylacteries is assessed for him, and he redeems them by paying their value to the temple treasury. A dilemma was raised before the sages. With regard to a Torah scroll, what is the halacha? This is going to be the last teiku. This is going to be the teiku. With regard to a Torah scroll, what is the halacha? Is it consecrated property or not? Does one say that since it is not sold, as it is prohibited to sell a Torah scroll? I didn't know that. Is it prohibited to sell a Torah scroll? They do it all the time. Does one say that since it is not sold, as it is prohibited to sell Torah scroll, it therefore not considered property? Or perhaps one says that since it may be sold in order to enable one to study Torah or to marry a woman, it is considered property. The Gemara concludes the dilemma shall stand unresolved. This is the 180th Teku. Back on board. Simon, the Gemara presents a mnemonic for the series of incidents stated below. Zutra, the mother of Amram, from two sisters, Rav Tovi, and Rav Dimi and Rav Yosef. Zutra ime de Amram, mitarti achota, Rav Tovi, Rav Dimi, Rav Yosef. Okay. The first is ime de Rav Zutra bar Tovia. Ime de Rav Zutra bar Tovia, because we know next Rav Zutra bar Tovia. The boy in the Sovile Razvid. Anis bevigarisha is ilakam de Rav Bibi barabaye amar mishum anos be ha anasibo. The mother of Rav Zutra bar Tovia wrote a deed granting her property to Rav Zutra bar Tovia, explaining that she was doing so because she wanted to get married to Razvid, and she said, and she did not want him to acquire her property. She married Razvid, and he divorced her. She came before Rav Bibi bar Abaye to claim her property from her son. Rav Bibi said she transferred her property because she wanted to get married, and she married. Since her intentions were fulfilled, even though she subsequently was divorced, a gift is valid. Wait, what happened here? The mother of Rav Zutra bar Tovia wrote a deed, okay, granting her property to Rav Zutra bar Tovia. The mother of Zutra. I guess it was Tovia's wife. Yeah, it must be. Grant to Zutra bar Tovia, okay? Unless it was a different Tovia. Anyway. No, it has to be, because she's the mother of Zutra bar Tovia. Okay. Explaining that she was doing so because she wanted to get married to Razvid, and she did not want him to acquire her property. Okay. So if she signs it over to her son has the property now. She's getting married to Razvid. I mean, do you love each other or not? I mean, do you care if your husband gets your property? Maybe not. She married Razvid, and he divorced her. She came for Bibi bar Abaye to claim her property from her son. I mean, you would think her son would. Why would her son put up a fight? Bibi said she transferred her property because she wanted to get married, and she married. Since her intentions were fulfilled, even though she subsequently was divorced, a gift is valid. Well, I would think that her son, if their son was in on it, why wouldn't you just give it back to her? Yeah, it doesn't make sense to me. Anyway, Amr le Rav Huna Braid Rav Yehoshua Mishum Da'asu Te'atu Min Muloi Amritu Min Muloi Amritu Mili Malusa Afilu Lamanda Amar Mi Barachas Kani Hani Mili Hechadela Gal Yadaiti Avalhocha Gal Yadaiti Mishum Manosove Hu Veha In Siva Vigarisha. Rav Huna, the son of Yehoshua, said to Rav Bibi, "It is because you came from a line of truncated people." Mulayasa. From the house of Eli the high priest, whose descendants were condemned to premature death. Oh, because of Baya, right. See 1 Samuel 2:31, that you say, unsound matters, Mulyeta, it's interesting. Mulaita, Mile Ma'alieta is very close to Mile Mulaita. Interesting. But they mean two very different things. I almost confuse them one for the other. Mili Ma'aliasa and Mili Mulaita. even according to the one who says that the deed of a woman who shelters her property from her intended husband. We're holding on time. Okay, 10 minutes, good. This is interesting here. All right, okay. Basically, Rav Huna, son of Yehoshua, was, dissing Rav Bivi, basically. He said you came from an unsound line, truncated line. So you're saying truncated things. Why? Even according to the one who says that the deed of a woman who shelters her property from her intended husband affects acquisition, and the woman cannot reclaim the property, this matter applies where she did not reveal her intentions in transferring ownership of her property. But here, she reveals her intentions that she transferred the property because she wanted to marry. And she married, but was divorced. Therefore, since she is no longer married, she can reclaim her property. I wonder if it was the same feeling that wanted to hoard away the thing. I mean, because if she's giving it to her son, what benefit will she get from it if her son, when she's married anyway? It does make sense to me. Anyway, okay. And the emails are of another story. Beur de kasavin to the next day Rav Chama besafra de kafin Rav Ufkar Rav Chama. Asir Rav Chama de kamen Rav Sheish is oikem benech se asal Rav Ufkar Rav Chama de kamen Rav Nachman. O kameh benech se. The mother of Rabbi Bar Chama wrote a deed in the evening granting her property to Rabbi Bar Chama. In the morning of the following day, she wrote a deed granting her property to his brother. Rabbi Bar Chama came before Rav Sheshes, who established him as the owner of the property. As the deed transferring the property to him preceded the gift to his brother, Rav Ukva Bar Chama came before Rav Nachman, who established him as the owner of the property. Also Rav Sheshes coming Rav Nachman. Amar lei, my time Rav Ukva Bar Chama. Imishum lahadra be ha'ashichiv Amar lei hachi Amar Shmuel kol ilu amad chozer b'mat naso. Rav Sheshes came over Rav Nachman and said to him, what is the reason that the master established Rav Ukva Bar Chama as the owner of the property? If it is because she retracted her gift, didn't she die? Since the gift of a person on his deathbed is considered valid, Rabbi Bar Chama already acquired the property in the evening. Rav Nachman says to Rav Sheshes, this is what Shmuel says. With regard to the gift of a person on his deathbed, in any case where he could retract his gift, if he were to recover, if he transferred ownership of all his property, even if he does not recover, he can retract his gift. Amar Shmuel atzmoi achar mi amar le beferish amar Shmuel ben atzmoi leben acher. Rav Sheshes responded to say that Shmuel said that he can retract his gift if he wants to retain the property for himself, but if he wants to retract his gift in order to give it to another, he did also say that he can do so. Rav Nachman said to Rav Sheshes, Shmuel explicitly said that he can retract his gift both in order to retain the property for himself and to grant it to another. Imaid Rav Amram Chasida Havile Maluga Dishtare Kika Shachva Amra Lehevi Amram Bari. Also, Achoy Lekamer Nachman Amarle Behalom Ashach Amarlo Divrei Shchivnera Kekoisvin Kiksuvin Concern Dami. The mother of Amram the pious had a bundle of promissory notes. When she was dying, she said, let these promissory notes be for Amram my son. His brothers came before Rav Nachman. They said to Rav Nachman, but Rav Amram did not pull the bundle of documents, and since an act of acquisition was not performed, he did not require them. Rav Nachman said to them, an act of acquisition was not required because the statement of a person on his deathbed is considered as written and as though the documents were delivered to the recipient. Acho says Rav Tovi Bar Matana Kesavin to Nixel Rav Tovi Baruch Matana. Pesaf Lefanya. As Rav Achadvui Bar Matana Bechale Amarle Hashta Amri Martur Bemaravan. Umarav Tur Meravan Kazan Alea Salekam and Rav Nachman Amarle Haki Amar Shmuel Kol Shiilu Amar Choizer Choizer Nimat Nosoi, the sister of Tovi. You have two Tovis here. Very interesting. The sister of Tovi, Barav Matana, wrote a deed in the morning, granting her property to Rav Tovi, Barav Matana. In the evening, another brother of Achadvoi, Barav Matana, came and cried to her. Rav Achadvoi said to her, now, people will say that you gave your property to Rav Tovi because this master of Tovi is a Torah scholar, and that master, Rav Achadvoi, is not a Torah scholar. She wrote a deed granting the property to him. Rav Tovi came before Rav Nachman. Rav Nachman said to Rav Tovi, this is what Shmuel says, with regard to the gift of a person on his deathbed, in any case where he could retract his gift, if he were to recover, even if he does not recover, he can retract his gift, and therefore the property belongs to Rav Achadvoi. Acha said, Rav Dimi Bar Yosef, Havile Piskata di Pardesa. The sister of Dimi Bar Yosef had a tract of land and an orchard. Whenever she was sick and thought she was dying, she would transfer the ownership of the orchard to Rav Dimi.